Alright, good evening, Vicki. Hope you're feeling okay, well enough to actually grade this. Hope you're drugged up a little bit so I get a better grade, all that fun stuff. I was kind of hoping to present in class just because, maybe people would remember my speech a little better than others, and I might get that extra grade through the 20 points on the final that we actually have to do. So tonight I'm going to actually try and convince you how pro athletes should not be welcome to the Olympics. I'm going to do this through telling you how the Olympics were actually originally meant, how actual athletes that compete in some of the events that have pro athletes are more intimidated and are slightly discouraged to join these events, and also some of the cons to pro athletes joining the Olympics and not joining the Olympics. So first things first, in 776 BC, Greece was first noticed to actually be hosting the Olympics. This was noticed through many different things, such as sketchings, drawings, and different medals that they've actually found throughout Greece. They've hosted every 4 years to try and praise the gods, show their growth as a person, and show their strength that they've created. A lot of amateur athletes nowadays compete very hard and train long hours. Even if they have second jobs, they have lives with their families and whatnot, they still put that extra effort in to try and show what they've done within the last 4 years, and that's why they want to go to the Olympics. When you're competing against somebody that is your peer compared to somebody that is your idol, it creates a whole different feel. When you're competing against somebody that you consider an idol, somebody that you look up to, somebody you watch on TV every day competing in a sport that you're trying to compete in, it's a lot more intimidating. You want to try and show off who you are, what you can do and whatnot. However, you're still discouraged because you understand that they have this skill that you did not to try and get into that discipline. So in hockey, soccer, basketball, those three disciplines actually year in and year out in the Olympics have an annual salary over 1.5 million. Every other discipline does not. You're not allowed to actually have a salary over that just to show that you're an amateur athlete. You do require a second job. Some athletes don't, however, that's through sponsorships and whatnot. So it creates a different feel, especially in those events. One thing is a lot of amateur athletes, especially in hockey, are discouraged in Canada because the lack that they actually have in regards to advertisement and showing off what they can do. The past 3 Olympics have been only made up of NHL players for Canada, which is very discouraging for amateur athletes trying to get in. And Canada has actually slowly and surely been dominating the world events of hockey in both men's and women's hockey with the United States of America. However, a good example of an amateur athlete who was drafted into the NHL, however, later in the draft picks, and he actually hasn't participated in an NHL game, is Kristaps Gudleski of Latvia, who almost single-handedly took down Canada in the 2014 Russia Olympic Games. The final score was 2-1, however, many panelists believed it was going to be 10-1, 14-1, even 20-0 kind of thing, just because of the names that Canada had compared to Latvia. Kristaps Gudleski saved over 60 shots to almost completely shut down the arsenal that Canada brought. Another huge thing is the feel that you get from amateur athletes compared to professional athletes. Professional athletes you see day in and day out, they're competing for what they want, they do in the discipline what they want, and you get to actually see what they do in their work. However, amateur athletes, you don't actually get to see their work. You have to go to their venues that they go to, their competitions that they compete in and whatnot. A great example of this is Alexander Bilodeau, who was the first Canadian athlete, men or women, to actually win a gold medal. And he competed in freestyle skiing, more specifically in the moguls, and he took that in 2010 Vancouver. So in 3 different times that Canada hosted the Olympics, he was the first one to ever do it. However, many people don't know his name and his story. His story is actually he competes for his brother. His brother has a mental disability, and his brother is his biggest supporter. After the medal win in Vancouver, you can actually see him going, hugging his brother before anybody else, and they're both crying. And the emotion, the raw emotion you get out of these amateur athletes from the payoff of all of their work they've done is more so than what you almost will ever see from a professional athlete, which is kind of sad. Another thing is sometimes you lose that Olympic feel of community and belonging, especially since the modern Olympics are for world peace through sports. There's a medal created in 1964 called the Pierre de Coubertin medal, which was created for athletes that have shown the Olympic spirit and the Olympic belonging community. There's only been 17 recipients since this medal was created in 1964. The most recent recipients were Nicola Hamblin of New Zealand and Abby D'Agostino. Apologize if I got their names wrong. It's kind of hard. Of New Zealand and USA, respectively, who competed in the 5,000 meter women's Olympic race in running track in 2016. They actually got tangled up together. They fell. They took each other out, and a few other athletes. However, the two of them made sure that they each finished the race respectively. And the Olympic Committee felt that that showed the community and the belonging. They didn't care about winning the medal. They cared about each other winning. They understood the amount of work and effort that went into the 4 years to try and get to this point, to only have it taken away because of somebody's tripping over your feet. So it truly showed the care and the pride that they had. Lastly, I want to talk about the cons of pro athletes of not actually making it to the Olympics. A lot of people talk about how you'll lose your sponsors, you lose that best on best, you lose the lack of knowledge of people understanding who's actually competing. I can promise you, in all the other disciplines that don't have professional athletes in, you rarely ever hear about their names, like Patrick Chan, who competes in figure skating, or Alexander Bilodeau, who was in the freestyle skiing and whatnot. You don't hear about those names, and that creates a hard advertising plan for the country that's trying to promote these Olympics, which is sad because these athletes train for 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, their entire lives to try and make it to the Olympics. However, they sometimes get that taken away because there's professional athletes who have professional trainers. They have professional advice to try and get them to the best place they can be. And they spend day in and day out grinding, getting to this place. Sponsorships will definitely go down for the Olympics because you're not going to have the big names like Sidney Crosby or LeBron James in basketball, or Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo in soccer. However, you're going to get a much larger field of community because you're going to have so many more athletes that compete against each other, who understand each other, even if they're not in the same discipline, such as hockey and bobsled, but they'll still understand the amount of work that they've put in, even with having to do something else, such as a second job, trying to raise your families, and whatnot. So, by allowing professional athletes into the Olympics is actually slowly and surely tainting what the Olympics were originally meant to be, which is that a mentality of belonging and community. So that's why I believe that professional athletes should not be welcome to the Olympics, and they should be welcome to other tournaments that are meant for those disciplines specifically. Thank you.